Why isn't that working?
Okay, this is really big.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
I'm sharing with I'm using my phone. I usually use my iPad, but I'm using my phone today, just trying it out. Yeah, I got this book a couple of years ago. I was so psyched when I found it because these are like copies of the original drawings. This is how big Jim Davis, who created Garfield, would draw the drawings. And they're like, I don't know if you can actually like see some of the sketchy lines in the work.
Oh, good.
I just thought this was really cool. I wanted to share it with you guys. Oh, you can really see it. Can you guys see the blue lines in this?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just think that's really cool. You can actually see these are like the actual size that he would draw the cartoons. They would shrink them for the newspaper.
Oh.
Did you have a question, Delai?
No, I don't.
Nope. Cool. But yeah, this is how I learned how to be an artist, that anyone could do it just by, copying Garfield cartoons and training yourself how to, look for shapes. I hope some of you guys get that from some of the work we do together, that just by following certain steps, you can create art. All right. So today I'm going to draw Garfield, see if I can tap into the second grade me and create an okay looking Garfield. Okay. You guys are welcome to draw along with me. You are also welcome to draw whatever you've been working on, whatever you feel like drawing today. And yeah, we just jumped up in people. That's good. If you would like to, if you have any questions or if I'm going too fast, you can always shout out, unmute yourself, shout out a question, and I will answer it, or I will, slow down, whatever we need to do. All right, so Garfield, here we go. I should probably not use blue because that's not going to work, but I don't know where I put my markers. I don't know. I'm going to grab an orange marker, see if that shows. We'll try orange. If not, I'll switch back to blue. All right, so for Garfield, I'm just going to focus on his head. I'll do this one. Yeah. Do a little portrait of Garfield today. Start by drawing an oval. Does that show up good enough on your screens? Can you see that?
Yeah, I got it.
Cool. You got it. So we start with the oval. Then he has pretty big, very round eyes. They're almost perfect circles, or at least one of them is. So I'm going to draw a nice big circle. Like that. And then you draw most of the next eye, but they have those cartoony, like popping out buggy eyes. So some of it's going to be hidden. So you wrap it around like that.
You know what, Mr. Berry?
Yeah?
It's my first time following you. I'll draw a Garfield today.
Cool. You with me?
I mean, not your drawing, but I'm going to search a picture and draw a Garfield.
Fair enough. And then Garfield's nose is like another oval here that goes sideways. His eyes, Garfield usually has like kind of closed eyes.
Yeah, like
whether he's making like a sarcastic sort of face, or he's cranky, or he's tired. Seem to be his common moods. So you keep them kind of closed, and you draw what would be like the black dot in the cartoon. Mine's orange, like that.
I mean, it's really funny that like every time when you see Garfield, he's always has that like tiny little eye, but when he's always surprised, it turns too big. There's always not in the middle one. There's like and then or.
Yeah, that's kind of common of cartoons. Like it gets your attention to see that big contrast, the big difference.
That's where it makes it funny, actually.
Lots of different ways to draw his mouth depending on what he's doing. I'm going to go kind of traditional sort of Garfield smile. You come down from the middle of the nose, kind of follow the eye like that, and then it makes a little like cheeky bump, sort of like this. And you can do the same but smaller going on the other side, like that.
My Garfield is so ugly.
That's okay. Just follow along. Like when I started drawing Garfield in 2nd grade, they were terrible. But as I did it for like weeks and months, they got better and better. And Garfield has his mouth is kind of funny. I always call this his mustache, but
Yes.
I don't really know what Jim Davis, the cartoonist, intended, but it looks cool.
I mean, yeah, it does really looks like a mustache. Like, it's just that he doesn't really have a mouth.
Sometimes I'm not looking at a picture. I'm just kind of remembering.
Unless if he talks, he would have.
Yeah, I feel like when he talks, it would
What-
sometimes do this. It would curve down, have a little bit of tongue,
Yeah.
and then it would like fill in like that. I think that's how Jim Davis draws him talking. Although I always like the cartoons where his owner, do you remember his owner's name?
Oh,
Pretty sure it's something like John.
John, yeah. I like when John's talking to him and Garfield is sort of talking back, but he's only thinking it. It's those thought bubbles. And he'll have some like wise comment. All right.
yeah, I don't really get how like the owner knows what. I mean, well, what would John? How would John know what Garfield is doing?
I think the gag is sort of that he doesn't know, but we're like in on Garfield's thoughts when John doesn't. He doesn't understand. All right, Garfield's ears. So we got a great Garfield face going so far. His ears come almost right from his eyes, it seems. They're usually going kind of forward like this, like one bump for one ear and then another bump for the second ear right down to the eye. And you can kind of see the back of them comes down to the head like that. And inside the ear, he would usually shade in with like a few lines, like stripes coming down. More of a shading thing than anything else.
It looks so weird.
I love it. That's fun. And I'll tell you another thing that comes out of trying to draw other characters, you sometimes end up creating your own. Your Garfield might be weird enough that you're like, I've learned to draw a cat that is not Garfield, and so I'm going to make him my own and make up my own stories about this cat. I've definitely had that happen before. All right, so his head comes around like this, and he has whiskers that are like, it's kind of like the mustache where it doesn't really make sense, but it still looks good. He has whiskers that come way off the side of his head like this, I think usually 3 lines, and then off the other side of his head like that.
Well, I mean, actually, in the picture I was just looking at, his whiskers, like, I don't know if it's his whiskers or something, but there's like always 3 thin lines up from his ear.
Yeah, like right next to the ear, right? I
Yeah.
assume they're supposed to be whiskers. I don't really know, though, because they're in a strange spot. They're not near his nose.
Maybe there isn't really a lot of big whiskers. It's just like tiny little dots, because sometimes, like in the, like on his cheeks, there's like always like some dots.
It's a good point. There's usually on the mustache or cheeks, whatever you call this, I think there's usually 3 dots that he'll draw on each side. Something like that.
My Garfield is so. I'm also kind of turning into like a unicorn Garfield with wings.
I'll draw a little of his body. He usually has like a kind of a shoulder. Garfield's a fat cat, so I think of it like a kind of a fat shoulder that kind of bumps out like this, and then it goes into the rest of his body like that. And often if he's talking, this is a little tricky. You can try and follow along. I'm going to have his hand kind of out in front of him because he often had this pose that I learned to copy pretty well, where he'd be talking and he'd have this hand out in front and one finger would be pointing like this. Then he'd have 1, 2 bumps, and then at the bottom of his hand, and then his arm would come around like this.
You draw an like muscular guy, you know.
Well, he's been working out.
Yeah, he looks muscular.
Lasagna and
Yeah, he
working
does.
out. And the last thing Garfield needs is he has stripes. I forget how many there are.
Oh
But
crap!
he would do, watch it, Delay. It would go something like that, a few rows of stripes. That go around his head like that. You might see some on this side. Not too much, though. And then on his back as well. And that is Garfield.
That's fast.
I'm not done with my Garfield yet.
All right, well, I'm going to leave it up here. I'm going to start tracing it in ink and maybe throw a little paint on it before we're done, about halfway through our time.
What? How?
How could it be?
Art always takes up time. When you start concentrating, you stop.
Yeah, I always find I'm amazed at how time goes by quickly when I'm drawing.
Yes.
I'll think that I'm at something for about 45 minutes, and I'll check the time, and it's been like 2 hours.
I mean, well, sometimes, you know, on your schedule, you have like an hour or 2 hours of drawing time. Then you just start drawing. After you draw the face, you're like, oh, that's just half an hour. It's fine. And your mom tells you that's two hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
It's like the opposite. I'm like,
doesn't make any sense.
I'm like, sometimes I think I've been like drawing something for like 2 hours.
Yep.
It's like been 15 minutes.
Oh, it's just like, yeah, it's gone by so fast. Yep. That's cool.
No, but like,
I do find.
Not that I think it's 2 hours and it's actually, that it's not that I think it's 15 minutes and it's 2 hours. It's that I think it's 2 hours and it's 15 minutes.
Oh, that's amazing too. You know what? I've had that same thing too. Yeah, it can go either way. I do find that like there's so little for us to be doing these days that I'm loving art even more.
No, you're kidding. There's a lot of things to do. I think it's actually more work than school.
I do find that I kind of agree with you, Delay, and that I feel very busy, but I feel like I'm doing the same things over and over again, and I feel kind of stuck in what I'm doing.
I mean,
so
don't you do that at school?
I'm loving art in that it gives me a real variety. Like every time I sit down to draw or paint something, it could be anything I want. And I feel like it almost feels like getting out of the house, which is lovely.
Interesting.
We're going to eat lunch outside at my house today. Looking forward to it.
I don't even know if I'm going to have
Outside.
Oh, my Garfield's way too fat. It hurts my head.
You drew him after the lasagna.
No, you got to
do with that.
Come on.
Mine has weird legs.
The legs are always hard. Let me see something. He has a thicker thing, if I can.
Yeah, they're giant. His feet
So
are.
Simon, I'm just going to try and do this real quick, and I don't really know what I feel like he has this thick part of his leg right here.
Yeah, it's like a chicken.
Like his thigh is like kind of thicker.
You know, actually, I don't, like, when I'm searching a picture, I don't even see anything. It's just the round belly and then his legs. And then just, like,
The
legs.
feet sticking out, something like that. I'm trying to remember.
The picture that I'm using, his feet are giant at the front, but tiny at the back, and his stomach's big.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
The part of the fun of cartoons, they can get away with a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. I need to make his legs bigger
I'm making Garfield barf
or
out of
thicker.
Garfield.
Barfield, yeah.
That's Garfield. Garfield is Garfield with suits.
Barfield would be a very unfortunate TV show. Just like, hey kids, welcome back to Barfield.
Oh, Garfield was a TV show when I was a kid. I guess that'll do. All right, I think I'm going to throw a little paint on this before we're done, although that cost a few minutes. Sorry about the technical difficulties, guys. I don't know why I got kicked out for a minute.
Oh, you got kicked out for a minute?
You got kicked out of your own meeting?
Well, it froze, I should say. My phone froze.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I didn't know that could happen. It's a first.
It could actually. No. Everything happens, so be prepared. I got to draw things faster. Every time I draw Garfield, I always draw his head fat and big.
Yeah,
Actually, it is.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. It's a little bit tricky to get that size right.
Yeah, and also, oh, I know what you'll get. Just a second. Okay.
I have a joke.
Let's hear it.
It might be. I'm horrible at jokes, so don't judge me if this is bad. But
Is it school appropriate?
yeah, kind of has to do with puking. So
You decide. You have to make the call here. If you think it's okay or not.
What I miss?
I think it's fine. What do you
Okay.
get when you cross Garfield with a fever?
I don't know what.
Garfield.
Nice.
Mr. Berry, there you go. Now it's better.
What do we got? Few minutes and then we can share. Those who want to share.
Oh, I have a joke.
If it's school appropriate, let it fly.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
No bell.
No bell who?
No, you have no bell. That's why I had to knock.
That's classic. Wait, who said that? Nice. I love it. I'm doing a color trick you guys might want to know. Is playing warm and cool colors off of each other. If you have like warm colors like the orange of Garfield in the foreground, by using cool colors in the background, it makes them stand out even more. You can do the opposite too. If you have a cool color character, by surrounding him with warm colors, it really makes it pop to the viewer's eye. Cool trick.
A literally cool trick.
Also, using opposites on the color wheel can really help too. Like
Oh,
purple
well.
and orange aren't total opposites on the color wheel, but they're fairly close to opposite. So they make a nice contrast that makes your
Blue and
art
orange, aren't blue and
stand
orange
out.
like complementary colors?
So you mean like maybe like
They're
black.
very close, yeah.
So you mean like sometimes like black and yellow?
Black and yellow is a great contrast. Purple and yellow are total opposites on the color wheel, so they
Purple and
work
yellow
really
are
well.
purple and yellow are also complementary colors.
Yes, they are. And they make really like great, like I'm not a Lakers fan, the basketball team, but their uniform is awesome because they have that purple and yellow. They look so cool and like contrasty next to each other. So it's a cool, something to play with when you want something to really stand out, put those complementary colors next to each other. Works really well.
What? What?
My paper's getting soaked. I'm putting so much paint down.
Good point.
Try that again.
It gets to, and like Delai and I were talking, we don't have watercolor paper, so you can only do so much with watercolor. It
Yeah.
gets to a point where it just can't take it anymore.
And then it just broke. And it is really annoying that hurts your feeling because you made like the best art you can and then you rip.
Yeah, it can be pretty sad.
That one time,
Yeah,
I
it
did
can.
that dinosaur. Now the paper is bent because of how much paint I put in the background.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot. I even have that happen with markers sometimes.
I don't use markers.
Ooh, 2 minutes.
Garfield have a tiny little eyeball.
The little dot.
Yeah, even when he's like at the biggest, he still have a tiny little eyeball.
This is true.
Yeah, like yeah, I can do that.
Why do cartoon characters have giant eyes just to fit those tiny pupils?
It allows
how
the
it works.
artist to show a lot of emotion. If you give it big eyes, you can make it look really sad or really happy or really surprised.
Today is the only day that anime logic ever makes sense, but it makes sense
Yeah.
that anime characters have big eyes because they have big irises and pupils.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they make things cute.
It also makes things cute. This is true.
I did research on this, and
Yep.
what makes something cute is like determined by a set of factors that are like queued up in our minds.
Yes,
That's why we don't throw our babies out the window the second they start to annoy us.
that's exactly right.
And helpless.
Yeah,
Hi,
babies
Mr.
are the
Barry.
perfect example. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Good to see you.
Good.
Yeah, round things, big eyes. These are cute to us, and you're exactly right. That's why we don't throw those babies out the window when they keep us up all night.
Don't do
Because
that.
we find them like helpless, and
Mhm.
that makes us think they're cute. It triggers.
I call it the Elmo effect. Little kids who have never seen Elmo before fall completely in love with Elmo because he fits into those guidelines.
What's our Elmo?
From Sesame Street, the red guy.
The what?
Babies, little kids love him. All right, I am going to
Speaking of
stop
Elmo,
sharing.
my cousin